consultations coming up, that maybe we talk about some of the scenarios that we've faced before, some of the things that the parents might say to us, especially if it's a bit awkward, and how to respond. Because I think sometimes staff don't know necessarily what to say. Shall I tell you some of the things that I thought about?
Yeah.
So here's one that I'm sure we've all heard before. How intelligent is Jack compared to the others in the group? I know Jack can count, know all his numbers. Shouldn't he be moved up to zebras? Isn't tigers a bit boring for him? I bet you've come across that.
Yeah, definitely one of the favourites. All children are advanced, and that's what, I mean, parents see different things that we see than we see as well, and also they may know how to count up to 10, but they also may find it difficult in other situations like social or personal and emotional. So we don't like to look at like one specific point.
I think sometimes parents have got this understanding of what intelligence is. So if their child can count and know the numbers, they're intelligent. What would you say to a parent like this?
That we also try to challenge and motivate children within their group, so they are challenged, and also we monitor their development and
right, so it's not just that tigers does this, zebras does this, but within tigers we can develop the curriculum, develop the offer. Yeah, I think
we change what we do, and also in each class we also change things throughout the year, because yes, they don't stay the same age, so we can remind the parents that we do change things, and we do look at our daily routine according to the children's ages, because in September they will be different to how they are in January.
I think it's also important to maybe give examples of how we are stretching and challenging the children. So you might say, for example, well, in Tigers last week we brought some dice down and we were throwing the dice and counting the dots on the dice. And maybe you even found in that situation that this brilliant child actually wasn't able to count in different contexts, that maybe they can say the numbers on the stairs, but not when they're counting dice or other things. So maybe about reminding parents the importance of practicing things like number skills in different contexts. Here's something else that we sometimes hear from parents about children's friends. I wanted to ask you, who is Avi's best friend? Because I want to set up a play date. It's so important, friendships, isn't it?
And
how old is Avi?
Yeah, how old is Avi?
Yeah, so Avi is 14 months.
Okay, so 14 months.
They don't really have friends at 14 months. They don't make friendships yet. So I would say, like, to parents, don't worry. He's okay. He's just enjoying his time, and
he has time.
Exactly, he has time.
And maybe to educate parents, to explain that at this age and stage of development, children won't have a best friend.
Best friends, yes.
And sometimes I remember
sometimes it's parents also that make the connection and the friendships between children, and they say, oh, here's my best friend, or here's my child's best friend, and then again they have no contact with each other, and they don't care about each other.
I remember with Nick, when Nick was here, when he talked about Maya and Nina, and the parents used to say they're best friends. The girls hated each other. It was the parents that were best friends. So what would you say to a parent that said, I want to know who his best friend is so I can invite them for play dates? Because, play dates are important.
Yeah. So we could say that you can basically invite anyone, because what's really important is, to have positive, friendly interactions, but it doesn't matter who is this child. It could be just child from this from the same group. And
I think that's a good idea. So here's something that we hear sometimes. I'm concerned about Leo's safety. He's being bitten every day. Some days the staff don't even know what's happening. I really don't think that the staff are trying their best. Can you tell me what is being done to stop this bullying?
Okay, so I mean there are a few things in that scenario. One is that the staff not trying their best. That I have, an issue with, because we're always trying our best to stop biting. It's one of the worst behaviours that we have to deal with. So I would tackle that one. I would also tackle the bullying. That's a whole talk. And also, what was the other thing?
About being bitten.
About biting, and then what's going on with the biting. So bullying, there isn't bullying, is there, at this age? There isn't. Children don't bully each other at this age. Usually,
they might be mean to each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So what would you say bullying is?
What would I say bullying is? Targeting one specific child and always being mean and horrible to that specific child.
And maybe abuse over a period of time.
Yeah.
A sustained targeting, and not just with biting, it could be with name calling, moving chairs. It has to be a psychological targeting for a specific child to be bullying.
And the children at Rainbow are not old enough yet to be able to do that. It's not something that they would have the ability to do.
So it's about shifting children's parents' perception in terms of what bullying is, and this age-old thing that my child's being bitten, the staff don't know about it. How would you tackle that in a parent consultation?
That I'm sure it's monitored, and as Emma mentioned, that staff always do whatever they can, and they keep track of it, and I'm sure.
So maybe you could tell them how. Talk about the biting logs.
Exactly, and I'm sure the team leader knows about the situation. If it's happening more than once, then I'm sure manager also knows. So we can mention the biting log and whatever we do to prevent these situations.
And I also think that the bites are so much worse for the parents than they are for the children.
They leave such a horrible mark.
Yeah. I mean, a child can be much more traumatized in the day when someone steals something from them, and then a quick bite. But that's what leaves the mark. And sometimes when you don't know what's happened, it's because it's under clothes and things like that. We don't strip all the children at the end of the day to look for marks.
And it can happen. I mean, we have to also explain that it can happen in a split second, and it might be there, but by the time you've got to them, the bite has already happened, even though you're sitting like an arm's length away. So explain that as well.
I always think it's good as well to say, he was bitten 3 times this week, but he wasn't bitten 150 times. They're the ones that we stopped. You don't see the ones that we stopped.
Exactly.
And what would you say about a parent that says, with regard to biting or with regard to anything, I really don't think all the staff are trying their best?
That we are trying our best. There is always practitioner with a group of children, with children, and especially like if there is child that has biting issue, there is someone with him close. So
I think it's useful sometimes to talk about the staff as well, because I think sometimes when parents say these things, they think about this abstract concept of the staff aren't trying, but when you break it down and you say, well, there's me, I'm in the room, and I care very much about your child, and I think this and this about your child, and then there's also Natalie, who and Hemelini, who and you start to humanize the staff and to talk about the staff's like kind and caring qualities. Then I think sometimes the parents might start to realize, it's not just the staff, it's people that are looking after my children who are nice.
Yes.
and kind.
I also like to remind parents or suggest that it's one of the worst parts of our jobs that to tell a parent that their child has been bitten.
Right.
I mean, the feeling in our stomachs to have to tell parents that their child has been bitten, it's not something that we want to do. So then why, like, really, why would we want a child to be bitten, to have to tell?
Right.
And it hurts a child. We wouldn't want any child to get, hurt.
Yeah.
So that's what I would use as well.
So here's another one, and you could say, I guess, this is particularly relevant at any time, but kind of I feel like when we're having this discussion, it is particularly relevant. There's been so many staff changes this year. Everyone that Sam gets used to leaves. He's been crying every morning in the past few weeks, and I think it's because of the staff that know him have left. What can you do about this? And can you promise that there won't be any more staff changes?
So we can't make any promises like this.
I think that's really important. Monika,
Yes.
tell the practitioners you can't make any promises.
Yes.
Not about anything,
Yes.
right?
And we actually don't know if that's the reason why the child is crying in the morning.
Right.
It could be something else, maybe something happening at home, maybe, I don't know, he or she's going through something, I don't know, some changes. So we can't be sure that that's the reason.
Right.
And, there are changes in staffing, but the core of the team is,
Yeah,
is
it's
the
rare that it's everyone
yes,
at once.
Exactly.
And I think you can also talk about maybe how change can support children to be adaptable and to give children the skills
Exactly.
that, that they need.
And sometimes it's harder for parents to get to know the staff.
Right.
So when somebody starts, even though they've been with their child for maybe 2 weeks, the parent has seen them maybe once or twice for a minute or two, but the child has been with them for 8 hours a day, non-stop,
yes.
for like two weeks already.
I think that's useful to remind parents that, maybe you as the parent don't know these staff, but they're with the child 8 hours a day, and the child very quickly, gets to know and becomes comfortable with the child. What else have we got here? I sent Liri to Rainbow specifically to improve her English. We don't hear her speaking English at all at home. So I don't think it's working. Is she really learning anything? All the words that she knows are in Hebrew. How good is her English? And Liri's 2.
Lyra is 2. Okay, so probably she doesn't speak that much yet, right? And
Well, I mean, we can never guarantee that a child will leave here speaking English and having words. They most definitely will be able to understand everything that you're saying. Some children will find it difficult, though, to speak.
yeah.
But why would Liri be speaking English at home? That's my point here.
Good
Yes.
point.
Why would she be speaking
right.
English at home? She wouldn't be.
It's not her. It's not in
Right,
context.
right. So I know in parent meetings you don't really want to correct a parent, but maybe one of the things that you can do is remind parents that language is contextual. So in an English-speaking context, she might be using English words.
That's right. Yeah.
And you could maybe give examples of how she's using English words at nursery, more banana. She might even be saying words or sentences. And at the very least, she's going to be understanding. Bear in mind, although we're a bilingual GAN, we have many more English speakers in every class than Hebrew speakers. And, that might be worth pointing out to parents that something that I've seen parents doing before is kind of testing their children in English, saying, Mazé the English. Would you
they're not
recommend that to
performing-
parents?
They're not
No.
performing monkeys. I mean, that's not what they won't do that. No, definitely not. But I can also assure parents that I only speak English with the children. and everybody understands me.
Right. And I think maybe sometimes when you take out the children to the parents at the end of the day or whatever, you know, you could maybe say some words in front of the parents in English that shows, that demonstrates that they have understanding.
Yeah. And how long has the child been at Rainbow?
It doesn't say.
Okay.
But I mean, we hear that from time to time, and sometimes parents save that up for a parent consultation, and you know, it comes out that they're worried about their child's English, or it could be the other way around. It could, you know, sometimes be their Hebrew that they're worried about. And then I guess it's, you know, the vast majority of our children come from Hebrew-speaking backgrounds, is to remind them of the rich home environment that they have in Hebrew. Okay. So here's one about Amy. Amy's a real character, isn't she? She's so funny. She's always making us laugh. I know you're going to say she's a bit cheeky sometimes and she answers back, but it's not often, is it? And she's so cute. It's not only rudeness, is it? Anyway, we can't stop ourselves from laughing. So I guess maybe this is a situation where you've said, you know, Amy is sometimes rude to staff or cheeky to other children, or, you know, we've all seen an Amy, haven't we?
Yes.
And parents kind of laugh it off and say, oh, well, it's nothing. You know, you had a situation this week where you talked to a parent about biting and they said, oh, you know, it's nothing, it's just cheeky. How do you deal with that when you're trying to, you know, present something serious to a parent and they just kind of laugh it off and say, well, you know, she's just cheeky, it makes us laugh.
I mean, I would say we're actually concerned, and to use the word concerned, because if it's at a level where it's not just funny and cheeky, or and I mean, we're talking about it in a parent consultation, so it is a concern.
It's becoming serious. If you want to mention it, yes. And it, I don't know, makes other children uncomfortable, and it's causing some unpleasant situations. So that's the point when we need to address it.
And what would you say when the parents say when she does those kind of naughty things, they just laugh? Would you offer any advice in that situation?
Yeah, like to address it in a proper way, so her reaction will change.
Yeah.
Right? If they are laughing, so she might think it's funny.
And try to perform.
Exactly.
In that way. Yeah, there's some tricky ones here. So here's another one. This is what the parents say. We're really pleased we're having this parent meeting. We wanted to come and talk to you anyway. We've been telling Yuval to hit back. We've all heard that, haven't we? When someone bites him. Yesterday he was bitten by Barak, and when he hit Barak back, the staff told Yuval not to do it. I disagree, and I want to make sure that Yuval can defend himself. And actually, we've been practicing at home.
I mean,
what do you think?
I've heard parents say that, and again in my meeting the other day, a parent said that, and I would tell them that it's not okay to hit back, but what we actually do is to teach the child to stand up for themselves. So for the child to say, stop, I don't like it, is what we're trying, you know, to teach the children. And yes, they can defend themselves by putting up their arms if it's a hit, or, you know, in other ways, but not by hurting another child, because that doesn't make it okay. Two wrongs don't make a right.
So what long-term messages, what kind of developmental impact do you think it has when you tell a child, you should hit back, you should defend yourself, if someone comes at you with their teeth out, you need to... What kind of long-term messages do you think, what do you think that teaches the children?
Well, I think that, you know, you're not going to be able to fight back every time something happens to you. So if, I don't know, someone crashes into your car, you're not going to go back and round them up.
Well, some people do that, don't they? Some people do that.
But that's not what we want to teach children here.
Right. So what we're doing is teaching children a very limited strategy. And maybe we should point that out to parents. You know, to remind parents that there are children that, as they grow up in school, end up always in trouble with violence. When they're out of school and in prison, you know, is that a link? And that what we need to be doing is teaching a range of strategies to deal with difficult situations rather than using our fist.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think parents would hear that?
I think so. I think maybe it's also, you know, good idea to maybe they don't have this idea that this child can actually use their words and they can, you know, they just can say stop. And so maybe this is also what they can implement at home.
At home,
yeah,
and practice saying stop
exactly.
rather than practice hitting someone.
Yeah, I always give the parents like an idea to role play at home. So you could be sitting down for lunch and you know, you do something to your wife or your husband and you're role playing it just out of nowhere, so it's not like you're talking about it, but it's actually happening at home.
So they can see it.
So they can see it,
So there's another one that I think it would be useful to just mention. It's the one about sleep.
That they're not going to sleep at night, and
you know it before I've even said anything, because how many times have you heard this?
Yeah.
That they don't want their child to nap at GAN because they're not going to sleep at night.
So this is what the parent says. I know your policy for the children is to rest in the afternoon, but we don't want her to because she's not tired at night. As soon as we put her to bed, she gets up again. This can go on for hours. Obviously, it's because she's not tired, so we don't want her sleeping at GAN anymore.
No, if the child is tired in the GAN and he's falling asleep, he or she needs to sleep. It's it's for their best.
For the physical development.
Yes.
And being at GAN is a lot different to being at home. They're using so much more energy here, and the thought process, like everything, their mind is working all the time. They're so busy, and it tires them out.
Yeah.
And they need that sleep.
So when they say the child just keeps getting up, obviously because they're not tired. How do you respond to that?
We can ask about the evening routine. Exactly what's happening. What do they eat for dinner? I don't know. What do they watch?
My favorite thing was they have an omelette and then they have one of those madame, you know, the sweet pudding kind of thing. I'm like, well, okay. So first of all, let's stop the sugar before bed. That would be a start. And also, sometimes children don't go to sleep because they're overtired and they're past. So a lot of parents might think that, okay, they slept for 2 hours today at GAN, so we'll put them to bed at 8 o'clock instead of 7 o'clock today. And then the next day they say, they slept for 1 hour, so they'll put them to bed at 7 o'clock, and they'll change their night routine. Whereas I think no matter how long they sleep during the day, you should still have the same routine.
Emma, do you think it's true that some parents don't even have a routine for nighttime?
Yeah.
And sometimes that's the root of the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, I always say that for at least 1 hour before bedtime, there should be no screens on in the house.
Quiet time. Yeah.
Yeah, starting to go down.
Right.
No party with music.
And the same thing
bath.
every day. But dinner, bath,
bed.
story, bed.
Yeah.
And children are never too young to hear a story, right? And sometimes having sugary drinks or milk or things like that in the bed also doesn't help. So maybe it's about reminding parents that the sleep at, sometimes 11:45 in the afternoon, 12 o'clock in the has no impact on what's happening at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. What you're doing then, has the impact. I mean, I think in parent consultations, it's very important that we don't get into coaching parents on parenting.
Yeah.
Because we're not experts on that.
Exactly.
And it's not our job. So in these situations, I think we could do two things. We could, have this discussion and say it's something that they need to look at, but maybe also advise them to consult a sleep therapist. Mm-hmm. And also we have a web page on the Parents A to Z in the website. We have a very detailed web page about sleep time, routines, tip for night, and those kind of things could help. I mean, it's long, but, they'll have to suffer reading the long web page.
Yeah.
So look, there's one more that I think is worth kind of talking about because it's something that, does come up regularly. So here we go. I don't know enough about what Jess actually does in GAN. She's hardly ever in pictures, and the staff just say she had a great day. What does she actually do? Where can I find information on these things? We've all heard that before, right?
Yeah. So, we can always remind parents that there is a lot of information, daily plans on our website, but it's also a good idea to just have the daily plan during the parents consultation, and we can explain parents. We can go through the day plan step by step, and we can also mention what does she like to do, what does she enjoy during the day. And I personally also ask parents during the voice notes or at the end of the day, I ask them if they have any questions, if they would like to know something specific. So it also helps us.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the information is available to parents, but they don't necessarily proactively look for it. Yeah. Or they don't listen to voice notes, or they don't read the information. You've got the daily message.
The daily message, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got the daily message saying the activities that they're doing during the day. And I always remind parents as well that if they don't know what's going on, they can always ask.
Yeah.
And
they don't have to save it up to a parent consultation.
Yeah.
And what about this thing about my child not being in enough photos?
To let us know, and we can. It's not done in any kind of order, and sometimes it just happens.
And sometimes the photos are about showing what's happening in the GAN rather than taking cute pictures of their child. It's about saying, look, we did the messy play, they were outside, they were upstairs, and so by looking at the photos, even if your child isn't in the photos necessarily, it shows what's happening in the GAN. But I really like your idea of going through the day plan with the parents and say, look, this is the structure that we follow every day. During painting, we do different types of painting. During messy play, we do different types of messy play. And I mean, in your class, you have the 6 weekly plans as well.
Yeah.
And they're online.
Yeah. And
the parents can also access them. And maybe it's sometimes about showing and telling the parents where they can access them and telling them, look, these are not just plans, these are the things we actually do.
Yeah, I also, it could be a good point to say, maybe the child has not been with us that long, and they're still, having they're in the stage of observing.
Legitimate peripheral participation. Legitimate peripheral participation. They're on the edges.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily in the centre of the action.
Exactly. So they're still just kind of watching everything and seeing what's going on. And to talk about that with the parents, I think it's a good opportunity to talk about that. And hopefully, we will see. Also, they may not be in pictures because they turn up at 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Right,
right before
like
lunchtime.
Yes.
And then they leave right after sleep time. So
they're here for a short period during the day, and they're not going to be in all the action shots.
Yeah, or they've been off sick for a while. So that's a good, I think, a good time to go over that.
Thanks.